Hello friends, it's Monday the 22nd of April 2019. I'm Christopher, this is baby Charlotte, and that is Moose welcoming you back to the garden for another tour. It is a beautiful morning. It's upper 50s right now. It's going to be 60s in the day. Later on today we're supposed to have thunderstorms starting at 2 in the afternoon. But we had a gorgeous week, didn't we? Just out of this world. Last week we had a couple days in the 70s, upper 60s. Easter was terrific. Things are just greening up all around. Let me give you your overview panorama shot. So starting in this corner and moving around, you'll notice a couple things. We've got the blue barrels where the potatoes were last year. I moved those out. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Look at the green of the gooseberry. Don't even have to zoom in to see that anymore. It's that far ahead. Otherwise, the rest of it looks pretty much the same from this angle. You might be able to see that far raised bed has some darker soil. That's because it's got compost mixed in. We planted it last week. And the rest is normal. Still no more purple fence. That should be coming in another week or two. Oh, good boy. You got a stick from Charlotte. Last week was a great week in the garden. One of the goals we had was to do something with these blue barrels. And we did. In short, let's see, I had a problem last year with drainage. So I drilled some more holes on the bottoms and around the sides of these, so hopefully they don't get too soggy in the bottom. But this year I'm not planting potatoes in them yet, so I don't have to worry about them being too soggy far down in the soil. But last year I had these sitting on the ground, and I ultimately, when I was chipping, I put the chips around it so they were kind of buried, which definitely didn't help with the drainage. So I've got these 2x4s. Oh, cedar. I got the 2x4s and I put them on the ground, so that offers some airflow underneath the bottom of these barrels, and I think that's going to be helpful in the long run. And then I drilled some handle holes so that I can actually move these. That's a smart improvement. And I'm not filling them straight up to the top because that's a lot of soil. Now, the reason I can hear some of you asking, why are you bothering with these stupid, ugly barrels when you've got nice raised beds? And the answer is, let's say, mobility. I want the opportunity to not necessarily have a raised bed in this spot, but have the functionality of a raised bed when I want. Because in a couple of weeks, we're going to have corn right up here in frame. And, you know, in other years, I might want to bring stuff all the way up to the beds or further back. Who knows? And then the blue barrels and stuff can go in a different part of the garden, or that I can move them around as I see fit with the sun, depending on, you know, where that's hitting the garden in different times of years. So that's why I do the barrels. But ultimately, I planted my spinach and lettuce in both of these. We're going to see how that goes. They're cold hardy crops, so I could plant them up to 3 weeks before our last frost date, which is technically 8 days from today. So we're well within tolerance. Those probably aren't going to germinate for another couple of days, especially since it's a little bit cooler. But that's okay. I saw how well they did last year, and I'm hoping for similar success this year. The spinach is like a 70-day cycle, something like that. So I'm thinking, like, imagine these two are spinach, because they're primarily spinach. If I grow them up, and 70 days I get a big harvest, and then they're not producing more leaves, they're just wanting to bolt, I'll pull them up, and then I'll probably plant these with mid-season potatoes that can be harvested late in the fall. And by that time, I'll have, you know, hopefully, when I'm planting potatoes in here, I'll probably be harvesting or about to harvest some of the potatoes that I'm going to be planting in the raised beds. So you can have potatoes twice in one gardening season, you know? So they're not just a bunch of potatoes at once that you have to worry about storing. You can have fresh ones a little bit longer. I planted 1/2 of this frontmost raised bed this last week as well with carrots, and that's great. Again, those can be done up to 3 weeks before your last frost date, so it was a good time to do it. I amended the bed with compost, and I made a video on my philosophy for doing that. You can check it out in the card. Thanks for watching. How do you amend your beds? Do you add compost to the top? Do you till it in? I'm just curious what other people do. Anyways, this was good to get taken care of, and it feels really cool to have stuff already in my raised beds, and we're not even done with the month of April yet. Later this week, I'm going to be planting my beets and radishes. They're going to go in this other half of the raised bed here to fill up the front section with all root vegetables, because this bed in particular, I amended it with a lot of perlite and other things to make it even less dense than the other raised beds. And then in one of these areas, some potatoes are going to go. I haven't entirely decided which raised bed they're going to go in, but I decided to change my first run of potatoes from the barrels into the raised beds for a couple different reasons. One, I had problems with drainage last year. Two, I don't know, I did something wrong. So I see everybody doing them, well, many people doing them in raised beds, so I'm going to take my cues from other YouTubers and give a shot there. I'm probably going to start with sweet potatoes, but I have to wait to see if my local greenhouse has any sweet potato starters, things that have started chitting yet, because I didn't do it myself, so I got to look around. So that might be this week or it might be in the following weeks. It all depends on what's growing around. I was supposed to get an order from Stark Brothers this last week. It was supposed to be shipped on the 15th and arrive around the 17th, but it never came. So I sent them an email, but I know this is the busy season because everybody's getting their fruiting trees and berries and everything else. It's springtime, so they're probably just a little bit behind. Anyways, when that comes in, I've got a lot of things that we'll be planting, so I'm going to assume again that might be a this week ahead project. The currant bush is going to go right here. It's a rebe, something like that in the family. It's the same family as gooseberries, so I'm going to plant them by each other. I think it should be really nice. That'll be a big size when it comes in. And then I've got a small bluebell, I think it's a bluebell blueberry, and an American cranberry. It's not a high bush. This variety of cranberry that I've got coming in is more like ground cover. So I've seen some recommendations where people plant the cranberry as ground cover below the blueberry, and they both require some really low pH, I think 4.5 to 5.0, which is lower than my clay is. So I think since they don't have deep roots and both of those say they can be potted, I think what I'm going to do is do another half barrel and put it right here and make sure that has a nice low pH. Again, that's the benefit of being able to do some things in barrels, is you can really control the soil acidity. So I'm going to put that there, have the blueberry, which will grow up about 2 to 3 feet, and the raspberries, which will only grow out like 18 inches and grow up not much more than that either. Should be, hopefully, really attractive, so long as I don't kill it in the next couple of years. A nice full barrel of cranberries and blueberries. Fingers crossed. That's either going to be really cool or it's going to fail spectacularly, but we're going to find out together. And then I'm going to put this, just pull it up and put it right in the middle of the barrel, so we'll have gooseberry, blueberry, cranberry bushel, and then the currant in the ground. I've got some thornless blackberries that are going to be coming as well in my shipment, and I'm not entirely certain where I'm going to put them. Probably behind where Moose is, maybe along the fence there in the front, or along the fence over here. I haven't decided. They can grow pretty wild and long, so I could, I don't know, kind of make an arbor with it, but you can also, like grow them up to chest level, 4 feet, and then just cut the tops, and they grow similar to my raspberries. We will see soon. Highlights again for what's growing this week include the gooseberry bush. This is so green that you don't even need to zoom in to see it. It's really spectacular. It is sharp as all get-go. I made this reference last year, but for those of you who didn't see it in the video, the German word for gooseberries, this bush, is called Stachelbeeren, and the Stachel is sting, so stinging berries, because they have these huge thorns that are almost an inch long. Anyways, we'll be seeing flowers on this real soon. For the raspberries, all of the second-year canes, we've got some greenery setting out on them. Same for my other variety of raspberry. Here's my other variety of raspberry I was talking about. You can see the greenery setting out on that. These ones will have fruit earlier in the year, so end of June, beginning of July, and then the new canes will come 6 to 8 weeks later than that and bear fruit later in the season. The rhubarb is splendidly big. As Moose is examining it, to take a look in comparison to my baby, who is about 18, 19 pounds, 8 months old. It's as big as a baby. Both of them really are. This is more gentle than this. Thank you, Moose, for protecting the baby. Great. I think he peed on the rhubarb earlier too, so yay! Nitrogen! And with that, I think we can call it a day. We've got a lot of greenery thanks to all this great weather, this warm temperatures, and all the rain last week. That feels super good. Everything's growing, even this little weed. Green gooseberries, green rhubarb, green onions. Pretty soon we'll start seeing some seedlings sprout from the seeds in another couple weeks again, because we're sowing early, so the germination takes a little bit longer. Next week we've got some more seeds to sow, the beets and radishes, and hopefully my order of perennial fruit bushes will come. So it's going to be another great week. We've already accomplished so much in April. What's been going on in your garden? Have you been planting a lot too? Thanks for those of you who tell me what's going on. I'm always fascinated by it. Thank you to the people who are still suggesting names for the garden. Best suggestion last week was just Bill. Just Bill, you know, because there's not enough Bills in the world. So the garden might be named Bill. Definitely going to be one of the poll options next month. So you still got a couple days to submit an option if you want it in the running. That's it. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a wonderful day. Say bye, Charlotte. Here's a baby. Baby in your face. Say baby.